Today is March 30th, Thursday. I have a day off to catch up on my tasks in the garden here. The first thing I've done is planted some vegetables, and I'm going to show you what those are. And the next thing I'm going to do is create some wildflower patches. One is going to be in a sunny area in the middle of this field. And then I'm going to make two shady areas on the front of the cabin in the woods. So let's go walk up to the garden and see what we've done so far. In the garden, I had planted some of my kale. The kale is a transplant from last year, from my home garden foremost. And what I did is I dug them up and planted them a little deeper than they were, because they were kind of leggy. So those are the kale. This bed, I planted potatoes. This bed has two kinds of parsnips. One is Hungarian. And this is the beautiful peach tree with lots of flowers on it, so I'm expecting a lot of fruit on this one. The other trees are not flowering yet. They're sort of budding. And this one is not doing that much, but I think it's going to be okay. It's coming out later. And this one, it does not have anything going on yet. Okay, this bed I planted carrots, two kinds. This bed has all those onions that, if you remember, I planted those trashy bulbs from last year's sale, and I just put them into some compost in bins in the house, and they actually were in the greenhouse all this time. And it looks like for most they did grow. I had very few, 5 or 6, that did not grow. So half of this, about half of it is red, the other one is yellow onions. And that back row with the trellises, it's going to be peas. I have not planted those yet. I'm going to wait a little bit. It's almost too cold. This bed's going to be for my tomatoes, and also this bed will be for tomatoes and the beans. It's too early to transplant them. And this bed's going to be for the butternut squash. This bed is also for tomatoes. Later on, I already planted the marigold. This bed has those wildly growing onions that I transplanted last month. And I planted some beets and some spring onions as well. Actually, the beets are here in this bed next to the cabbage. The cabbage that I planted last year. They're growing well. And going back here, there's another fruit tree that is budding and actually has flowers coming up. Lots of it. So that's going to be good. And this new bed here is going to be for peppers. I can probably put in, I would say, at least 16 peppers, if not more, maybe 20. And I'm actually going to have a lot of pepper plants. And also this new bed here will be for peppers as well. I probably could put in 8 here, or 10. Anyway, we'll see. And what is going on here? That's it for this area. And I got some last year's parsnips still trying to grow. I guess the seeds were scattered. So I'm just going to let them grow, and I'll just plant the tomatoes around them. The next thing I want to do is just fill out some of these gaps under the fence so the bigger animals cannot come in. There are just bigger holes here, for example. And down here, so I'm just gonna backfill those and then I'm gonna call it done as far as the garden. Looks pretty good. So after I'm done backfilling the fence, the gaps in the fence, like right here, it's really bad. After I'm done with those, then I'm gonna start weed whacking the area that I'm gonna plant the wildflowers in the sunny area. So we'll be back later. So I weed whacked most of the weeds and grass on this hilly area in the field. So now I'm gonna spread some leaf compost, a thin layer. Then I'm going to spread the seeds and then a little more compost on top of that. And hopefully that will do a nice flowery heel for me right here. So there is my little patch for wildflowers in the middle of the field. Hopefully we get some rain now. I don't feel like watering it, but I may have to do that before I leave. On to the shady garden. It's gonna be in the woods. I'm gonna create two new areas there. So here are my shady patches. One on the left and there's one on the right. And I'm gonna have to go water them because even though it's cloudy, it doesn't look like it's gonna rain. So I'm almost done. I still have to do patching again on my wall. This is now on the other side, a big hole. So I'm gonna have to board that up today. I don't want the squirrels to come in and make nest. So it's good. It just never ends, does it? Okay, I think that other than that I accomplished everything I was going to do today. The tulips are growing in this new bed that I made next to the fire pit area. They look lovely. And there's a couple of plants here that I think died, but it's alright. The water level on the lake came back up. It's almost up to normal. It needs to rise a little more, but it looks really nice.